Trent. Of all people.
He's good police. And also, he's objectively hot.
Welcome back to the channel. You know, we do review all the new content that comes onto all of our streaming services. Today's show is a regular procedural crime drama detective show. Or not. I'll actually answer that question as I review this bad boy. And if that sounds interesting to you, click like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. But let me get into this review. So, Will Trent actually premiered on ABC and streams on Hulu on January 3rd. Now, this is based off of the Karen Slaughter's series, Will Trent. Okay, so there is a novel of this detective story or what have you, and they've adapted it into this procedural crime drama. So here's a storyline for it. It says that Special Agent Will Trent is abandoned at birth and endured a harsh coming of age in Atlanta's overwhelmed foster care system. Determined to make sure no one else feels as he did, he now has the highest clearance rate. So this is a series that's for fans of crime, drama, detective shows, and the style of the show and the way the main protagonists and the way they're setting up storylines, what have you. This is a mashup of like Monk meets Luther with a little bit of Elementary in there to go ahead and actually just kick it off. So I know that that's a lot. It sounds kind of like weird, but you have to watch it to go ahead and actually know that that's where the core of this particular series is. So let's talk about it. So network detective shows are going to fall into the following categories. They're either paint by the numbers procedural shows that do very little to offend or be innovative. They're just kind of very, blah, standard quo. Or they try something so out there that no one's ready for it or ever will be ready for it. This one is mostly in the latter, but it has a couple of redeeming qualities that makes it a little bit different. So the usual tropes of these types of series, fans of these types of series will recognize. We have a highly skilled, observant detective that's ostracized in the eyes of most of their colleagues. He's paired with a reluctant junior detective who shows promise, but is the antithesis of the main character. He has a no-nonsense superior that has hints of being both strict but also human. They take on high-profile crimes that seem to get every department in it, and they all get involved in it, and all the main characters are interacting with this particular story. Main detective is the star, figures out the case before the end, and your main detective has some kind of debilitating characteristic that makes them hard to get close to. So thinking in the realm of like House, Monk, Luther, like these characters tend to be kind of the odd ducks of their particular precinct because of course they are. So if you're a fan of these kinds of shows, all of these same tropes are present. They're intact, and they're done with reasonable competency. But for a casual, you're gonna go ahead and actually be like, that's the same old, same old. What's different that I would go ahead and actually attach on to kind of say like, I'll give this series a watch. Well, our main detective is a Hispanic male that's raised in Georgia, okay? And he has the accent and all. So raised in group homes with various kinds of kids that come up through the system, he actually has a very clean, smooth look to him. I mean, like a professor. He is in like a three-piece suit. He actually carries a handkerchief, just old school type of look about him. So totally different look of the way to go and care about him. And the main character, Ramon Rodriguez, does enough to make this character intriguing. Kind of have a little bit of grit to him, but he has a little attitude. But you can see a little bit of hurt and softness behind everything that he does, or whatever. So he actually portrays the character pretty decent. Now, Sonja Son is his boss, and she's kind of following in the same path as Essie Patha Murkison as a black female that can run the department right. So you know, she's a hard ass, but she actually has a humanistic approach to what she does with her detectives. Now, this is set in Atlanta, which doesn't always get that many mainstream shows showcasing that part of the country. So, again, when you actually have a Hispanic detective that's raised in Georgia, this is set in Atlanta, there are some interesting dynamics here that we have not seen on television. At least I have not, and I can't think of anything that is out there. Another aspect of it is a little bit different. We initially get presented with romantic tropes and relationships that have existed within this character in this universe, but they're busted by the end of episode 2, which leads to some possible movement for the characters to grow within the show. So, meaning that they've already kind of given you that love interest or the attachments that he actually has, and then they kind of bust it up to say, like, hey, there is possibility for growth here or to expand relationships or what have you. So I like that they did that approach to it rather than you kind of have that will they, won't they type of aspect. We've kind of get that busted up in the very beginning. Now, this series, the acting is solid from the supporting cast. The stories aren't anything new or groundbreaking. They're the usual tropes of, kidnapping or murder, what have you, but they are interesting enough to keep you engaged with the detective following the clues. The scripting is okay. The dialogue is a little stilted at times, but other times it's kind of cool, funny, refreshing, or what have you. It's pretty formulaic as far as what they're doing because they're trying to get you from the various different points, but it's decent. Now, I do like some of the banter between some of the detectives as they kind of go back and forth or whatever. Other times you kind of cringe, like that's not even necessary. Nobody would really do that, but it is what it is. But overall, we're looking at pretty decent acting, pretty good acting from the main lead character, Ramon Rodriguez. The supporting cast is competent in what they do. Story is pretty decent, even though it's formulaic, and I like the setting is something different. So here's my verdict for my mains. You should probably stick with this the whole season. Detective and crime shows like this are comfort food for those who love them. This one has a smart, interesting detective, good supporting cast, and a good backstory on the characters that you can see how the writers can set themselves up for future stories that actually could be compelling. So I think Maine should stick through it throughout its entire first season because I believe that this is it's going to have some good stories to tell in there and probably have an opportunity to develop the characters really well. For casuals, I'm going to say just watch the first 2 episodes. Since the first 2 episodes are kind of like one big case, it's almost like the pilot and the second part 2 or what have you. Get that one to get the full gist of things. You'll want to see how the first case wraps up to see if you want to keep watching. There's enough in the way of acting and the crime and the backstory to keep you entertained for those episodes so that you can kind of determine, do I vibe with this character? Do I vibe with this setting or not? And you'll be entertained for the most part away on there to go and actually determine if this is a new series for you or not. So again, for the mains, binge out that first season as it goes and actually starts to develop. And then for my casuals, watch that first 2 episodes, make your decision off of that. And that's what I have for Will Trent on Hulu. You stayed with me the entire time. I appreciate you. I love you. If you like that, you should click like, share, subscribe because we're going to continue to do more reviews. It's only natural. But until the next time, for my next review, I'll holla at you.